Why do some people genuinely prefer being alone, even when they have plenty of opportunities to socialize? For many people, the answer is not sadness, it is not failure, and it is not necessarily a hidden psychological problem waiting to be discovered. Sometimes being alone simply feels good. Imagine Maya. After a long day, she comes home, changes into comfortable clothes, makes tea, and spends the evening reading, drawing, watching a documentary, or simply sitting quietly with her thoughts. She may decline a crowded party. She may not feel the need to message someone every hour. She may enjoy having close friends, but she does not need constant contact to feel secure. For Maya, solitude can feel like recovery. This is an important distinction because society often treats social behavior as a simple measure of psychological health. Someone who is surrounded by people is assumed to be happy. Someone who prefers being alone is sometimes viewed as lonely, strange, antisocial, or emotionally damaged. But human beings do not all recharge in the same way. Some people naturally feel more comfortable in quiet environments. They may enjoy deep conversations more than large groups. They may need time alone after social interaction because constant noise, conversation, emotional signals, and stimulation leave them mentally tired. This is often connected to temperament and introversion. It does not automatically mean they dislike people. A person can love others and still need distance from them. But there is another side to the same behavior. Imagine someone who stays home every weekend, not because they want peace, but because they are terrified of being judged. They want connection, but they expect rejection. They may avoid conversations because they fear saying the wrong thing. They may refuse invitations because social situations feel exhausting, unsafe, or emotionally threatening. From the outside, this person and Maya may look exactly the same. Both are alone. Psychologically, however, their inner experiences may be completely different. This is why solitude should not be judged only by appearance. The more useful question is not, how much time does this person spend alone? The better question is, how do they feel about that time? Chosen solitude often brings comfort, freedom, creativity, and emotional recovery. Painful isolation often brings longing, fear, emptiness, shame, or a strong desire for connection that feels impossible to reach. And even this distinction is not always permanent. A person may choose solitude during one stage of life and later begin withdrawing because of depression, anxiety, grief, trauma, burnout, or repeated disappointment. The behavior may look similar while the psychological meaning changes. So, no, everyone who enjoys being alone does not secretly need to be rescued. Sometimes solitude is a healthy way to protect energy, think clearly, and reconnect with yourself. At other times, isolation can become a signal that something inside needs attention. The difference is not simply whether someone is alone, it is whether the distance feels like freedom or confinement. For this reason, healthy solitude can exist alongside meaningful relationships. Someone may have only a few close friends, yet feel understood and supported. The number of social contacts is less important than the quality of connection and the person's sense of choice. A small social world is not automatically an unhealthy one. The warning signs appear when choice disappears. If a person feels trapped in avoidance, constantly wants connection, or experiences intense distress whenever interaction becomes possible, the issue may deserve closer attention. Not because solitude itself is wrong, but because the emotional pain behind it may be asking to be understood. The same room can feel like a peaceful refuge to one person and a prison to another. The difference lives inside the feeling, not appearance. And that question opens a deeper psychological mystery. If two people can display the same quiet lifestyle for completely different reasons, how can we understand what is really happening beneath the surface? Why can being alone feel safer, calmer, and even more natural for some people? The answer is not the same for everyone. For one person, solitude may simply reflect personality. Some people have a naturally quiet temperament. They enjoy independent activities, think deeply, and feel energized by time spent alone. They may prefer one meaningful conversation to an entire evening of small talk. Their need for solitude is not a problem to solve. It is simply part of how their mind restores energy. But for another person, being alone may feel comfortable for a very different reason. The mind learns from experience. If someone grows up in an environment filled with criticism, unpredictability, conflict, or emotional pressure, they may gradually learn that depending on themselves feels safer. Alone, they know what to expect. They do not have to carefully monitor another person's mood. They do not have to wonder whether someone will suddenly become angry, dismissive, or disappointed. Over time, self reliance can become more than a useful skill, it can become a form of emotional protection. Consider Daniel. From the outside, Daniel appears distant. He rarely attends large gatherings. He often declines invitations and seems comfortable spending entire evenings alone. Some people assume he is arrogant. Others believe he simply does not care about anyone. But inside, social situations create a completely different experience. When Daniel enters a crowded room, his attention begins moving in several directions at once. Did he speak too much? Did that person look uncomfortable? Was his joke inappropriate? Should he say something now or wait? Is everyone noticing how nervous he feels? By the time he returns home, he is mentally exhausted. For Daniel, being alone feels peaceful because the constant monitoring stops. This is where an important distinction appears. Introversion is not the same as social anxiety. An introverted person may prefer limited social interaction but still feel comfortable meeting people. Someone with social anxiety may want connection while fearing judgment, embarrassment, or rejection. The difference is not simply how much social contact a person wants, it is what happens emotionally when social contact occurs. There are also people who withdraw because of painful relationship experiences. Repeated rejection, betrayal, bullying, or abandonment can teach the brain a powerful lesson. Closeness leads to pain. If that lesson is repeated often enough, emotional distance may begin to feel like protection. A person may think, consciously or unconsciously, if I do not get close, nobody can hurt me. This does not mean the person is incapable of love. In fact, sometimes the desire for connection is still present. The problem is that fear has become stronger than trust. This is why several common assumptions about solitary people can be misleading. Preferring solitude does not automatically mean someone is arrogant. It does not mean they hate people. It does not prove depression. It does not mean they are emotionally damaged. And it certainly does not mean they are incapable of forming deep relationships. Some people simply feel most authentic when they are not performing for an audience. At the same time, solitude should not always be romanticized. A person can begin by choosing alone time and slowly become trapped inside it. They may want friendship but stop reaching out. They may miss intimacy but expect disappointment. They may avoid opportunities because avoidance provides immediate relief even while increasing loneliness later. This is how a protective strategy can gradually become a wall. The key question is not, does this person spend a lot of time alone? The more important question is, do they feel peaceful there or trapped there? Peaceful solitude usually includes a sense of choice. The person can connect when they want to. They may enjoy quiet but remain capable of trust, closeness, and emotional openness. Protective isolation feels different. It is often controlled by fear, shame, exhaustion, or the belief that connection is too dangerous. And sometimes both experiences exist in the same person. Someone may genuinely love solitude while also carrying wounds that make relationships difficult. Human psychology is rarely divided into simple categories. Personality, history, attachment, stress, and current emotional health can all shape how a person experiences other people. So, the goal is not to force every quiet person into a more social life. The goal is to understand what the solitude is doing. Is it restoring the person, or is it protecting them from a world they no longer feel safe enough to enter? Because sometimes being alone is a choice that helps someone become more themselves, and sometimes it is a wall built carefully over many years until the person begins to forget how to open the door. Why does solitude sometimes feel like freedom, while at other times it becomes a hiding place? The answer often depends on what a person is moving toward and what they may be trying to escape. A healthy relationship with solitude does not require someone to become highly social. Someone can value independence and still have meaningful relationships. They can enjoy quiet evenings, protect their energy, and prefer their own company while remaining able to connect when they genuinely want or need to. In this form, solitude is a choice. It creates space for rest, reflection, creativity, and emotional recovery. But sometimes being alone becomes less about peace and more about protection. A person may avoid people because they feel intense fear. They may have experienced trauma, depression, chronic stress, or painful relationships that taught them to keep everyone at a distance. At first, avoidance can feel helpful. If a person avoids a social situation, their anxiety may temporarily decrease. If they stop trusting others, they may feel protected from betrayal. If they never ask for help, they cannot experience the embarrassment of being refused. But the relief may come with a hidden cost. The more often someone avoids what they fear, the less opportunity they have to discover that not every interaction ends badly. A protective habit can become a prison without the person realizing when the change occurred. This is why the warning signs matter. Solitude may deserve closer attention when someone feels persistently sad, loses interest in relationships, experiences intense fear around people, becomes unable to trust anyone, or feels deeply lonely while desperately wanting connection. That last experience can be especially painful. Person may want someone to call but feel unable to make the call. They may want connection but feel trapped by fear. And recovery does not always mean becoming the loudest or most outgoing person in the room. For someone struggling with social anxiety, trauma, depression, or painful avoidance, growth may begin quietly. It might mean replying to one message or asking for help with one small problem. Therapy can also help a person understand the beliefs beneath avoidance. The goal is to learn that fear does not always have to make every decision. A person can say, I am nervous, and I can still take one small step. Over time, the mind can learn that not every relationship leads to rejection or harm. This does not mean trusting everyone. Healthy connection still requires boundaries. It means allowing the possibility that some people can be safe, consistent, and supportive. The goal is balance. A person can be independent without being emotionally unreachable, and connected without losing their identity or personal space. You do not have to reject solitude to value connection. The deeper question is always, what does your solitude mean? Are you choosing it because it helps you feel peaceful and more like yourself? Or are you using it because the world feels too frightening, exhausting, or painful to enter? Sometimes being alone is where a person finally hears their own thoughts. So perhaps we should stop judging people by how often they socialize. A quiet life is not automatically an unhappy life, and solitude is not automatically a symptom. What matters is the experience beneath the behavior. If being alone brings peace, it may be part of who you are. If being alone brings only fear, hopelessness, and painful loneliness, understanding that pain may become the first step toward healing. The question is not simply, why does this person stay alone? It is, do they feel free there, or are they waiting for a way out? Because sometimes solitude is not running away from the world. This is not about forcing a door open. It is about discovering whether the door is locked from inside. Sometimes it is the place where a person finally learns how to hear themselves.